that Lucas Paqueta plays for West Ham, the more his importance to the club grows. He's just such incredibly talented individual, but just a sort of an enforcer on the game. He really makes things happen. He dictates a lot of how West Ham play, really. He really does. And his talent just seems to get bigger and bigger and grow. And even during games, he just seems to really grow into them. It's like a playground for him. Do you know what I mean? You watch him and it's like he just genuinely loves every aspect of it. He loves the sport. He gets stuck in. He fights for every ball. He's a diver. He gets in the faces of the players. He antagonises the opposition fans. He dances around when he scores. He scores brilliant goals and flicks and tricks. I mean, he really is just such a unique and brilliant player, and we are very lucky to have him. I mean, I saw Gonzo on Hammers Chat actually say that you can imagine if you are the opposition fan watching Paqueta, they must hate him. Like, he's an absolute nightmare to deal with because one, he punishes them. You know what I mean? He scores goals and he creates things and that. But also, he's just such a whiny character, isn't he? He feigns injuries at time, which I don't like. I don't like all that, really. I wish he kind of stopped that stuff. But it's just the theatre of him, which makes his importance to the club, huge. It really does. He's a really important player. And we're fortunate. Let's be frank. We are very fortunate because this whole betting scandal, allegations, let's call it, has done West Ham a big favour. It really has, because he was going to go to Manchester City. He was off. They were going to spend the money. West Ham, the player was going to go. It was all going to happen. And of course, it fell away. And commendable to Lucas Paqueta, actually, of how he handled that, because we don't know a lot about him. Let's be honest, as a person, he's kind of come to West Ham. He hasn't been here very long. He's a Brazilian guy, Brazilian international. He's then gone to France. We don't know a great deal about him, really. And he could have really thrown his toys out the pram. That's what I was half expecting. When it was all going to collapse, I was expecting him to go, well, I'm not playing, and sulking, and look at the stuff we have with Pyatt, and all that stuff. And Arnautovic, and we've had a fair few experiences, haven't we, of players that have down tools. But he hasn't. He just thrives. He just loves it. And I really, really respect him for it. But I was hoping, and I think like many were, that when this sort of betting allegation stuff came out, which is obviously still rumbling on at the moment, and City effectively went, oh, hang on, well, we're not going to sign you now. And why would they? Because look at what's happened at Newcastle. Look what's happened various other players, Ivan Toney, they get these really lengthy bans. That could be hanging over. What happens if Paqueta gets banned for a year? These clubs aren't going to do that. They're not going to agree to sign him. Absolutely not. Until it's resolved, until they know where they stand. So the hope was really that Manchester City would go, right, okay, we're not going to go long down this path. We're going to move on, go into other targets, get on with our life and carry on, which opens the door to West Ham. And at the time, we did a video stating that this is a great opportunity for West Ham. Not only the fact that we've managed to keep the player, but now we can stand by him. We can say, no, you're our boy. And we've also had the news from ex-WH employee a few weeks ago that West Ham now are intending to sit down with Paqueta to get a new contract agreed. They want to get this release clause that exists in it gone. They want to up his wages and get a new long-term deal over the line, which is brilliant news. However, the importance of this deal, or proposed deal that we hopefully can get over the line, is now been heightened quite significantly on the basis that Manchester City haven't gone anywhere, that they still want Paqueta, that they want him to bring him in. They're just waiting for this situation to be resolved. That's a really big blow for West Ham, actually. I think that's causing us a bit of pressure. I think there's a bit of pressure on the club, a bit of pressure on Tim Steidten now. I think they need to try and get a deal done quickly, because X's news originally was West Ham aren't in a big rush. We've got him. We don't anticipate that he's going to be going this season. We don't anticipate he's going to be at issue in January. So we don't need to hurry and get it all sorted now. That we can kind of just sit on it a little bit and see how things play out. I don't think they can do that anymore. I think that the fact that Manchester City are now known to be going, well, we're just waiting, and once this is resolved, we're going to come back in for Paqueta. We know there's a release clause. That's a big bloody problem. That is a really big problem. But you know what? Usually I would feel really, I wouldn't have much confidence in this. I would be quite deflated thinking, yeah, he's going to go. We're going to lose Paqueta. That we're never going to be able to manage to get over the line. I don't feel that, actually. I actually think we've got a chance. I don't think it's a massive chance. I'm not saying that he will definitely sign a contract. But if you look back at the Jarrod Bowen situation, Bowen was pretty similar. Bowen's got Arsenal, Liverpool after him. They can offer him more, not just financially. They can offer him more. We can't offer them what they can. We can't. We're not in their realms as a club yet. We know that. We're not. I'm not saying we're a million miles away, but we're not there. We can't offer Champions League. We can't offer title chases. We can't offer those things. We just can't. And Jarrod Bowen was offered that. He was offered that football. And yes, okay, the circumstances are slightly different in terms of his home life. He's an East, he's married into a sort of East End family, the Dyers, etc., and all that. But let's be honest, he's still a footballer. He's got aspirations. We know how much England means to him playing for England. So let's be honest, his chances of being an England player for the long term are far greater at an Arsenal or a Liverpool than they are at West Ham. That's just a fact. We're seeing that now with James Ward-Prowse. If James Ward-Prowse now was playing for one of those top big six sides, whatever you want to call it, he'd be in that England squad. I'm sure of that. I think there's something about the England managers. They just seem to look at the bigger clubs differently. They really do. It's frustrating. I'm not saying they completely disregard clubs that are not in that sort of big top six sort of realm, but it's obvious that there is, unless you're doing exceptionally well, that you're going to struggle. But my point is, in this rambling chat about England and whatnot, is the fact that Jarrod Bowen opted to stay with West Ham. He opted to stay. The reason Jarrod Bowen opted to stay was the meetings he had with Stuyton. There's no two ways about it. That's what got it over the line. Because he would have signed a long time ago. The conversation was going on for a long time with Bowen. And as had been reported by XWH employee, they weren't going that great. They'd had these talks and they were like, yeah, no resolution. They had talks, no resolution. It looked like it wasn't going to happen. There was a real danger there. And then obviously there was a shift. And the shift was Stuyton, the conversations he was having. And then, obviously, of course, it gets it over the line. And here we are. Jarrod Bowen's now committed his future for 7 years. 7 years. Not just a new contract for a couple of more years. He's pretty much committed his whole career to West Ham. I'm not to say he'll never leave, but my word, I mean, to get him out of that contract now, you've got to spend a lot of money. And I think, for the foreseeable, we've certainly got Bowen at West Ham. And I genuinely do believe he'll be here for years. Now, the situation is obviously on Paqueta. It's a slightly different scenario because obviously he's not been in the club as long. And obviously, as I say, the family situation is a little bit different. But you still get the feeling that Tim Stuyton will have a powerful voice in this. He's already shown that he is very capable of bringing people in. He's already shown that he's able to manage to convince people to stay. This is now going to be his next big task. And as I say, the emergence now of Manchester City once again, that are now waiting in the wings. They are waiting for this Paqueta situation with the betting stuff to be resolved, to strike. It's heightened it. And I'll tell you what, the pressure is now on because Stuyton has to do everything he can to keep Paqueta at West Ham.